On June 7, 2021, Alex Murdaugh called 911 to report that he found his wife and son shot to death near the dog kennels on their property. That phone call began a double murder investigation into one of the most prominent families in the Low Country of South Carolina, the Murdaughs. It was a story picked up by media outlets and websites around the globe. For months, there was no arrest, but a lot of speculation about Alex's involvement. Then Alex called 911 in September of 2021 to report another shooting. This time, Alex himself was the victim. He was shot in the head, but survived. That incident fueled even more speculation about Alex's involvement in the murders. Well, now, the speculation is over, and Alex is on trial, charged with committing double murder. He says he's innocent, and that is something he has repeatedly told investigators. Tonight, we take a closer look at yet another video-recorded interview Alex did with police, his third. Does this video make Alex look innocent, or is he caught in yet another alleged lie? Tonight, we investigate as our coverage of the Murdaugh family murders continues live from Walterboro, South Carolina.
I'm Vinny Politan. Great to have you with us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Another big day inside the courtroom down in the Low Country of South Carolina. Alex Murdaugh, once again seen and heard by this jury. You know, in the world of crime and justice, for criminal defendants and for suspects of crime, silence is golden. How many times here on my show have you heard the criminal defense attorneys that I bring on night after night after night tell their clients or talk about their clients and say, listen, I just tell them, say nothing, don't ever say anything. I try to shush the attorneys a little bit, because if someone's guilty, we don't want them not talking. We want them to talk and get caught. Anyway, Alex Murdaugh is a lawyer himself, but he did not get any of that silent gold. He did not get it. He's always talking. He was talking from the beginning here. And he's in a unique position because he ended up obviously being a defendant, is a suspect in the beginning of this because he discovers the bodies. But, you know, the bodies are the bodies of the people closest to him in his life. The murder takes place on his property. It's his wife, his son. So naturally, I guess you would expect him to speak. Criminal defense attorneys don't like it, but if it's your wife and son who are shot and killed and you discover their bodies and you call 911, you're not going to say, I'm not going to talk, right? Why would you do that? I mean, if you refuse to call 911 or refuse to talk to investigators when they responded, that'd be like a huge red flag. Okay, we're zeroing in on this guy, and that's what's going through Alex's mind. I mean, if in fact he's guilty, if he's innocent, he's just talking, right? Trying to help investigators catch this double murderer or murderers. Now, he was interviewed, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And in this case, third time is really the charm here for investigators, because remember, each time they speak to him, more time is passing by and investigators are getting more and more information. You know, that first interview was at the scene of the crime, the night of the crime, and investigators know very little. I mean, whatever they're finding out, they're learning from Alex himself and from what they physically see at the scene. They haven't spoken to other potential witnesses or people involved in all of this. They haven't really done their investigation. But by the time they get to the third one, they've learned some information. And what's really interesting is that the detective, David Owens, who's doing the interview, in that third interview, he's got a secret. And he's got a secret that he is not revealing immediately to Alex Murdaugh. And this is important, right? When you're interrogating someone, you're trying to find out the truth, or you're questioning them, or interviewing them, however you want to term it. If you know, or if you have information that the suspect doesn't know you have, or that the suspect doesn't know even exists, how significant is that? Extremely significant. And at this point of the interview, Detective Owens has spoken with Rogan Gibson, who is a good friend of the family, really almost like a family member, and like best friends with Paul Murdaugh. And he has spoken to the detective, or one of the detectives in the case. And they learned from him that he had a phone call with Paul Murdaugh just before the murders. And then he hears voices in the background, and one of the voices he hears is Alex Murdaugh. So the detective knows at the time of this third interview that Alex Murdaugh was at the kennels that night, just before the murders. So once again, that issue comes up in this third interview. So listen closely, and remember, as you're watching this, the detective knows that Alex was there. And now he's asking him once again in interview number 3 about, where were you that night? Let's take a listen.
So when you were at the kennels, you were just down there with Paul. You left and went back to the house for dinner.
Paul and I were just knocking around up at the shop, the shed, the kennels, and just the whole property. And that was before dinner, yes, sir.
And you didn't go back down there after dinner until you returned trip from visiting your mother?
Yes, sir.
I've got information that Paul was on the phone.
Had you confronted him with what you're about to ask him prior to this?
No, I had not.
And the question you had just asked him, did that deal with whether he went down to the kennels or not after supper?
Correct.
And he said he had not.
He had not. And Maggie was heard in the background. And you were heard in the background. And that was prior to 9 p.m.
I heard Rogan Gibson ask me if I was up there. He said he thought it was me.
Was it you?
At 9 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
No, sir. Not if my times are right.
Who do you think it could have been?
I have no idea.
There it is. What you just watched, that is the prosecution's case. That's the prosecution's case. There's no murder weapons. We don't have that. There's no blood. There's no witness. But there's 3 people at the kennels. 2 of them get shot, and 1 of them lies about being there. That's your case. That's your case. The question is, does the defense have any comeback for that? We shall see. But that is your case. All right, big day. Let's bring in Court TV crime and justice correspondent Matt Johnson. Join us live tonight outside the courthouse in Walterboro, South Carolina. Matt, great to see you. This is fascinating that he's got this information at the time of this third interview. Makes it so significant. He knows something and Alec doesn't. Does he have that kennel video that we've seen and watched and picked apart so many times? So at the time of that third interview, does the detective have that video?
The short answer, Vinny, is no. But the defense, they knew that this was coming in court today, and it's kind of fascinating the fact that the prosecutors decide to play this video, this interrogation video, after they played a key critical video that Paul shot on his phone that has been played over and over again in this trial. Take a look.
Get back. Get back. Quick, Cash. Come on. Quick. That's okay. Come here. It's not bad. Come here, Cash. Come here. Hold still. Cash.
Hey, he's got a bird in his mouth. Bubba.
Hey, Bubba.
It's a guinea.
This is a chicken.
Come here, Bubba.
Come here, Cash.
Come here, Bubba.
Cash. Quit.
So the lead investigator with SLED doesn't even know yet that that video exists. But he knows that he had a phone call Paul did, with his best friend Rogan Gibson, and it just really talks about the same thing. And then today, the jury heard this about that kennel video and the timeline in which SLED got it. Take a listen.
Now, Paul's phone, did y'all attempt to do, so you had it from June 7th until today?
Yes.
Okay. Were you able to do a full extraction on Paul's phone?
We were able to finally do a full extraction in March of 2022.
Okay, March of 2022.
Yes, sir.
What, if any, information came as a result of that extraction after March of 2022?
The kennel video.
Until that day, and it was extracted, to your knowledge, did anybody else in the world know that was on there except Paul?
Nobody, to my knowledge.
So March 2022, that's when they discover this video that really lays down the foundation for the fact that they caught him in a big, huge lie, because you're not just relying on the friend, but you're relying on Paul from the grave that is showing that his dad is lying.
This is unbelievable. I didn't realize that it was March of 2022. It took that long for them to uncover this piece of evidence that's the most important evidence in the case for the prosecution. This is unbelievable. I mean, if this case was just about Rogan Gibson...
Starting to connect the dots.
Yeah, but if this case was just about Rogan Gibson hearing something on a phone call, they would have attacked him and torn him apart on cross-examination. But now you've got the video and you've got like 7 other witnesses saying, yeah, that's him. Wow. All right, speaking of videos, how about the Snapchat video, the famous tree video of Alex Murdaugh? In this third interview, did they talk about that as well?
The Snapchat heard around the world in this particular trial, right? I mean, how many times have we seen it? And Paul is joking with his dad because the tree is bending in another direction, and Alec is like, well, it's better than it was before. But the main focus here is on the clothing that he's wearing. And yes, he was confronted about this video in this third interrogation. Take a listen.
There is a video on Paul's phone of you and him on the farm that night, and you were in khaki pants and a dress shirt. You were playing with a tree.
I don't remember playing with a tree.
Yeah, I guess there was a tree sapling or something that had fallen over or bending over, and you were trying to get it to stand up. But I mean, the question in that is, when I met you that night, you were in shorts and a t-shirt. At what point in that evening did you change clothes?
I'm not sure. You know, it would have been...
Before dinner or after dinner?
No, it would have been... What time of day was that? I would have thought I'd already changed.
It looks to be about dusk. So that would have been 7:30, 8 o'clock.
I guess I changed when I got back to the house.
And at that point in time in front of the jury, the prosecutor started shouting, in fact, and saying, you know, where was the clothes? Was it turned over to you? He had every opportunity to turn over these different sets of clothes that we've seen. Where are they? That's the big question that everybody's asking, right?
Absolutely.
And then to see his body language.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I can't wait to see what your expert says.
Yeah, that my big part of all of this is watching the way he's reacting, finding out they've got this piece of evidence, they've got that piece of evidence. Not good. Another big moment today, the judge making a ruling or rulings on the roadside shooting that we've been talking about in September. What did the judge say today?
Involving one of your favorite people that you love to talk about, who we call Cousin Eddie. Curtis Eddie Smith. Well, anyways, yeah, so there was a big moment in court. We were anticipating this because there was a little bit of pre-fireworks last night when we ended court. And then this morning, the jury got in late. They were getting tested for COVID. They're all negative, by the way. And then the judge listened to the arguments, and he said, It's not really connected to the case. This September incident of the roadside shooting, the so-called failed suicide attempt with cousin Eddie. There he is right now. He's in protective custody. He's also on the witness list. So the judge said it's not going to be admitted into evidence, saying that the evidence goes beyond the motive and is not evidence of motive. So they weren't going to allow it in. But at the end of the day, the judge, Judge Newman, who we love, he reversed his own decision from the morning, just a few hours earlier, because he said the defense team was bringing up Curtis Eddie Smith too much in the fact that they were saying, SLED, you didn't even look at him as a potential, suspect in all of this. You were only looking at the man over there at the defense table. So it's coming in. I don't know if he's going to testify, but he's still in custody. He's still on the list.
And he's now looming large for the defense. Matt Johnson, thank you, sir. I want to bring in Charlotte, North Carolina tonight, host of the Murdaugh Family Murders Impact of Influence podcast, Matt Harris, back with us. Let's pick up where Matt Johnson just left off with this roadside shooting. Give me the context here. Curtis Eddie Smith, cousin Eddie, is a big part of that. He's a big part of Alex's life, and it looks like that's where the defense is going to go and pointing the finger.
Well, yeah, some people were saying that maybe it was a mistake by the defense, but they had a plan. They wanted to get Eddie Smith possibly up on the stand. Don't know if he'll get up there because I think they would just lick their chops at a chance to take care of Eddie Smith. But with Eddie in play, you've got the roadside incident on the Labor Day weekend where Alex says he was going to pay Eddie to shoot Alec in the head so he'd get this money for his son Buster. But you also could bring in what was hinted at was that Eddie and Alec, according to the charges against them, were running drugs with the Walterboro Cowboys, who are a gang in that area because it's big right off of 95. Alec would give Eddie Smith money, according to the charges. Would give Eddie Smith money. He'd go down and get the opioids and bring it on back, and Alec would take it, or I'm going to assume he couldn't take those all, but that's how the system worked. And they got this guy Rivers and this guy Roberts in custody that they're trying to tie into this whole thing too. So this opens up the possibility of the defense going, hey, Alec owed some drug people money. They swing by, two shooters, bing, bang, boom. Sadly, Paul, Maggie are dead, and Alec's got to pay up.
Wow. What a development. All right, Matt Harris staying with us the whole hour. We're going to talk a lot more about this, get into that third interview, also coming up next hour.
On the docket tonight in Green Bay, Wisconsin, Taylor Schabusiness is accused of having sex with a man, then dismembering him and leaving his head in a bucket in his mother's basement. Now she's back in court attacking her lawyer. We have the latest.
Stop it. The trial that America is watching.
Disbarred lawyer Alex Murdaugh is accused of shooting his son Paul and his wife Maggie.
They're on the ground out at my kennel.
Prosecutors say a financial house of cards was collapsing around him.
Financial, digital, and forensic evidence.
It looked like he had stolen.
A big trial in a small southern town.
He did it so bad.
The Murdaugh Family Murders. Live coverage weekday mornings at 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
Loaded is right for you.
I need you to answer this question. Are you asking him questions to further your investigation, or are you asking him questions because you think that he's a suspect? I need a straight answer.
I am asking these questions to further my investigation.
Yeah, he's definitely a suspect. Make no bones about it. I mean, this is such an important interview, this third one done by the detective, because he's got information. He's got information that Alex Murdaugh doesn't know he has. It's fascinating to watch this develop. I've got to bring in our investigators to get their take on this moment. Joining me tonight in Nashville, Tennessee, retired sergeant for the Nashville Police Department, Melissa Pinkleton, and in Salt Lake City, Utah, retired police commander, host of the Profiling Evil podcast, Mike King is with me. Great to see both of you tonight. Let's talk about this moment for an investigator who's speaking to or interrogating or interviewing, whatever you want to call it, talking to the suspect. And you've got information, and he doesn't know you have it. Melissa, I'll start with you. How difficult or how careful do you have to be trying to get him locked into some sort of big lie like they apparently did here, with him saying, I was never at the kennels, yet he knows he was at the kennels?
Yeah, you have to be very careful, and not just with this third interview. That is the whole point of, from the beginning of a very first interview, you want them to have their timeline locked in. And let me back up before that. A lot of times people are on the scene, the responding officers will talk to people such as Mr. Murdaugh, and they will write a supplemental report. And they'll even have that to go back to pull from and go, this says different from even our first interview or our second interview. So it's extremely important to get him locked into that timeline and denying over and over again that he was not there, knowing that they have the information and they have the proof that he was there. And it was so interesting, like the attorney asked the question of, hey, are you asking for this reason or that reason? The attorney knew exactly what he was asking for. I don't know.
If the attorney knew, he would have shut it down. He would have shut it down. I mean, we're going to talk about that aspect with our think tank tonight. But let me ask you, Mike King, how does that change the dynamic of an interview, interrogation, whatever you want to call it, when the suspect is there with a lawyer and you're continuing the questions?
Yeah, it adds a lot of stress for the investigator to know that that lawyer could shut him down at any moment. It is such a delicate dance when you are in the middle of an interview. And I think it's an interview at that point. I don't know that he's ready to interrogate at that point. But what you're doing is you're setting baselines, and it was really great to see Melissa on with us tonight, Vinny, because I love her background and her experience. The idea for someone that's doing these interviews is set the baseline, figure out if their juggler's bouncing or if their eye twitches or if they got a little shift or they fold their arms. And I don't know if you saw it during some of those things, but you could see when Alec is leaning in, when he's back and he's a little bit more defensive, or where he's sitting like he is right now, a little more relaxed and maybe thinking he's in control of that interview. But he had no idea that the officer had some intel that was going to turn this thing around.
Yeah. Now, another interesting part involves, in this third interview, involves referencing the 911 call. Let's take a listen here to Alex Murdaugh talking to the investigator and asking, some questions come up about what he says relative to the potential of the dogs being loose that night.
When you return home from your mom's, where were the dogs?
They were like they were when I didn't put dogs up.
Okay. So they weren't running loose?
However they were.
Okay. At one point in the 911 call, you say here, like you're talking to somebody else or something else.
I say here?
Here, yes, sir. So the dispatcher is asking you if they're breathing, and you said no. And she asked did you see anyone else in the area, and you said no. She asked about guns near them, and you said no. And then you kind of stutter and start moving around, and you say here.
I don't have any memory of saying that. I guess I'd have to listen to it but I don't recall a dog being out. I'm certain that there was not a dog out.
Well, Alec wanted to hear it, and I'm sure you want to hear it, so I'm going to play it for you, that little piece of the 911 call. Let's listen closely. Does Alex Murdaugh say here, and does it sound like he's calling one of the dogs?
Do you see anyone in the area?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Is there any guns near them at all?
No, they're here.
Let me bring back in my investigators, see what they think about this. Is this a big point, small point? Mike, what are you feeling right now?
You know, I'm having flashbacks. I had Labradors my whole life, Vinny, and labs love to have things in their mouth. They pick up things. We know earlier in one of the videos that there was one of the labs had a guinea hen in its mouth. And I'll tell you what I always said to my labs when I'd walk over and hold my hand under their mouth was here to get that lab to drop it into their hand. So I don't know. I'm just having flashbacks.
All right, Melissa, we have about 10 seconds left here. Big moment, small moment. What do you think?
Media moment. It could have been him saying here, but the bigger moment was the clip before when he was going, "Oh, I don't really know what to say," because that's what I thought. He didn't know what to say. In the body language, real quickly, he's holding his arms tight and his arms are crossed. That is him comforting himself because he knows he is in a world of hurt right now.
Absolutely.
That's what that is. He's protecting his inside.
Melissa Pinkleton, Mike King, great insight tonight. We'll see you again really soon. Melissa basically teed it up for us. Coming up next, we're going to talk about body language. Janine Driver's going to join us. Matt Harris will be back with us. Don't go anywhere.
I will kill you, I will end you, and I will destroy you.
Someone they knew is back.
I mean, you talk about high stakes, right?
With a brand new season.
This is how I'm going to die.
New crimes.
It was a brutal killing.
New cases.
You ask yourself, why?
Committed by those closest to the victim.
They seemed happy.
Someone They Knew with Tamron Hall. New season premieres Sunday, 9/8 Central.
Only on Court TV.
With Centrum Silver.
We've already established family guns were used. And if they came from Paul's truck was at the house. So where were they?
And how did they get down there?
Yeah, how did they get down there? I mean, it's normal for y'all to leave your keys in the cars. However, if somebody showed up and did this, you're not going to take Paul's truck back to the house and leave the key in it.
Fascinating stuff from this third interview of Alex Murdaugh. He's out of the car and he's in an actual interview room. Let's bring in our guest, still with us, host of the Murdaugh Family Murders Impact of Influence podcast, Matt Harris. Joining me now in Alexandria, Virginia, body language expert, New York Times bestselling author of You Can't Lie to Me. Janine Driver is with us. You can check her out on TikTok at Body Language Institute. All right, thank you both. Let's get right to another piece of this third interview, right? This is the third interview with Alex Murdaugh, 2 months after the murders. Here they are talking, and it's really Alec asking some questions here. Let's watch.
Can you tell me for sure, did either one of them live after they were shot first time?
Not long.
What does that mean?
The shooting happened very quickly. Very quickly.
Is this one person, two persons, three persons?
I've got 2 guns. I've got 2 different types of ammunition. It's hard to say. It is hard to say.
No, neither one of them slept for very long.
Matter of seconds, if that.
Wow. Is there enough movement there for you, Janine, in all that? Before you analyze that, Matt, give us a little context here in terms of how information is coming out during the course of this, right? So this is 2 months later. What is happening? Like, what is public information? Who knows what about what happened at this point?
Well, at that point, it started off in one way, and this was July, the interview, I believe, right? Or August, the interview.
August, yes.
August 11th. Yeah, August 11th. So the Labor Day incident hadn't happened, so the financial crimes were not out yet. The time that he left Moselle to go to his mom's house. That wasn't out yet. A lot of this wasn't public. And so when he brings up some of these facts to Alec about the video of him at the dog kennel, although he said that the kid told him, or the Snapchat video, he doesn't know any of that. None of us know all that. At this point in August, it's still people saying, poor Alec, and this is a horrible situation.
All right, Janine Driver, his body's moving all over the place. What did you see? What does it mean?
All right, Vinny. Just before that, we have his body angled towards the door. We face our belly button in the direction we want to head. So his belly button is facing out of there towards the door. And this is unique to this part of the clip because here what we see is we see him implode. His belly button is pushed way back. I call this naval intelligence, paying attention to that center mass right there, your belly button. He collapses in. You see this low-level pacifying in between his legs. He's squeezing his hands, but this is something else the everyday person may see and not recognize. When people are closing their legs like this and squeezing their legs back and forth with their hands along for the ride, this is in my world something called exploring. Exploring is discovering alternatives. It's seeing something other people might not be seeing. So it doesn't surprise me that we're seeing this exploring activity. By the way, everyone around the world does this movement unless you are paralyzed. So whether you're in Russia or China, or in the Carolinas, you will see people doing this spreading and enclosing. And if you are talking to someone who sends you emails or text messages with weird creative stuff and emojis and all this crazy stuff, watch their body language. I promise you, they probably spread and enclose quite a bit. So we see this. This is in the moments where he's trying to discover alternatives. So he's exploring in this moment, asking the questions, pacifying, which indicates high stress and anxiety. His stress has gone through the roof right here.
Okay, now let's get to the ultimate question here in the interrogation. This is, this is it. This is like the moment. Take a look.
Did you kill Maggie?
No. Did I kill my wife?
Yes, sir.
No, David.
Do you know who did?
No, I do not know who did.
Did you kill Paul?
No, I did not kill Paul.
Do you know who did?
No, sir, I do not know who did. Do you think I killed Maggie?
I have to go where the evidence and the facts take me.
I understand that. And you think I killed Paul?
I have to go where the evidence and the facts take me. And I don't have anything that points to anybody else at this time.
So does that mean that I am a suspect?
You were still in, like I told Corey earlier, you were still in this. With everything that we've talked about, with the family guns, the ammunition, nobody else's DNA. I have to put my beliefs aside and go with the facts.
Go ahead, Janine. This is the big question, right?
This is a smoking gun right here, Vinny. I'm jumping out of my seat. I'll be playing this in every single detecting deception class I teach law enforcement moving forward. First of all, he repeats the question. That's a stalling technique. Are you asking me if I killed my family? Then he says, no, I did not. First of all, the strongest denial, anything. I don't care if you're asking your significant other if they've cheated, if your kids are doing edibles, or if it's murder of your wife and your teenage son. The strongest denial is always no, period. Are you on heroin right now, Vinny? No. Not no, absolutely not. Not no, what kind of person do you think I am? Are you asking me if I'm doing heroin? Those are weak denials. The strongest denial is a no. That's number one. Next, there's something called statement analysis invented by a guy named Mark McLish. Amazing. He's got great books on this topic. There are words that have hidden meaning. And what he has said here is he said, do you think I killed Maggie? He then says, do you think I killed Paul? We can take out the beginning, Vinny, and you at home. Do you think? And the statement says what? I killed Maggie. I killed Paul. If you're asking your significant other, did you cheat on me? Do you think I'm the kind of person that I would cheat on you? Well, that's a weak denial. Now you say, are you calling me a cheater? Do you think I cheated on you? Pay attention. Are you saying, he literally says, do you think I killed Paul? Do you think I killed Maggie? This is huge in my world with statement analysis. You can take words off the beginning and the end, but the statement itself stays in the middle. I won't talk about some other murder cases, but look at JonBenet Ramsey case. Listen on how people answered that same exact question, and you be the judge there. Last but not least, his tone of voice goes down when asked the question right out of the gate. Over 90% of the time, Vinny, and you at home, when someone is being deceptive or there's a spike in the stress and anxiety, there's a change in tone and pitch. It can go down, which is indicative of sadness, or it can go up. And when our tone goes up, I already answered this question 5 times. I've already said this. They are overselling, convinced, not conveying. So here his tone goes down. It's connected with sadness, but we don't know what the catalyst is for that sadness. This is right here, 5 hot spots in what, 15 seconds? 5 deceptive hot spots here. This right here for me is a huge smoking gun.
The big one. All right, Matt Harris, part of this interview, Alec is talking about the internet and everything that's going on, right? So is he a sort of a suspect in the rumor mill of the chatter surrounding this double murder at this point?
Well, yeah, he is. I mean, you have that out there. You have, if you want to go down the rumor tree, there's, that he did it. That comes out as it would be. The wife and the son are murdered, and he's there. You have the drug connection. People start talking about that maybe there was some sort of hit on them because of what Alec was tied up with. You have the boat incident maybe causing someone to get revenge, although that was pretty much quickly gotten rid of because they did all the DNA and voluntarily gave all that information. Most people wouldn't think they're capable of that sort of thing. So it was out there. I don't think the full-blown Alex Murdaugh is a murderer happened until that Labor Day weekend. That incident with Eddie Smith and the story about the prescription drug abuse, all that is when it became, okay, this guy, because then all of a sudden all the stories came out about how much he was stealing and how many millions of dollars he had taken. That's when it snowballed against Alec really strong.
All right, Matt Harris staying with us, Janine Driver staying with us. More body language analysis, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the third interview, a little more rocking by Alex Murdaugh. He's always rocking. What does it mean? What does it tell us?
A Wisconsin woman accused of killing her friend with eye drops.
And then defrauding her for over $250,000.
The state believes this defendant has evidenced her capacity to take advantage of at-risk individuals. Was the victim trying to commit suicide?
Or was she murdered for money?
The Eye Drops murder trial. Live coverage coming soon on Court TV.
Another interview, and Alex Murdaugh again getting emotional. This is the third interview 2 months after the murders. And once again, in those emotional times, there's always a lawyer there to put his hand on Alex's shoulder. Fascinating to watch. All right, so another theme that we've caught on to here in watching Alex Murdaugh in the courtroom and in these interviews is that he tends to, from time to time, rock back and forth. Let's take a look now here again in this third interview 2 months after the double murder. Once again, some rocking by Alex Murdaugh.
And I know when you were at the office, you were working on motions, and some of those motions you dealt with were for Paul's, the boat accident, or the boat case.
I'm not really doing the legal work.
I understand, but you're Paul's dad, you're a lawyer, you're definitely going to know what's going on.
Yeah.
So what were those motions? Did it deal with Parker's, or was it the actual boat accident, or?
It was the civil case.
Okay. What time did you leave and get home?
Earlier than normal. I'd say 5:30.
When you left the office?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What time did Paul get home that night?
Me and Paul got there about the same time.
Okay.
Maybe he was a little bit later than me, or maybe a little bit earlier than me, but it was close to the same time.
Okay. And y'all rode around the farm. I believe you said 2 different trucks or 2 different vehicles.
Yes, sir.
What were those 2 different vehicles?
We rode in the white pickup truck, and we rode in the black pickup truck.
So this is, again, 2 months afterwards. This is the interview. Jury watching that today. What the jury's also seen, though, is inside the courtroom, Alex Murdaugh at different times doing this rocking. Is it the same type of rocking? I don't know. We've got experts who will tell us, but let's take another look just to remind you of some of what we've seen inside that courtroom.
Has anyone discussed with you how he got faced away from where he was shot?
No.
Were the footprints smudged as if he was turning?
And there was blood dripping. He was stepping in the blood and leaving his own footwear impressions in the blood. I don't know that it was smeared necessarily.
Well, we also know that a second shot, literally his head exploded, his brain flew out.
Okay, so it's something clearly that everyone is noticing and people are talking about it and we're seeing. So let's bring back in Janine Driver, body language expert. Matt Harris also with us. Janine, is it the same? Is it different? What does it mean?
It's very similar. So it's this repetitive motion. It's like a metronome. And what happens here is this is done with high stress and anxiety. If you think about the baby crying, right? The mother would rock the baby to sleep. Well, here's the interesting thing about these repetitive movements. They're done with high levels of stress, Vinny, and you at home. And it's connected to, and this is going to sound interesting, the inner ear, which is our sense of balance. It's called the vestibule system. And so this rocking, this repetitive rocking, like this metronome, it is calming us down. It's high stress. It's connected with the inner ear, which is the sense of balance and our spatial orientation. So when people get really bad news and they're almost first, what comes first is freeze, by the way. You think about cats and lions would attack us and they would look for movement, right? So first is freeze response. Then this is the second response to this high level of stress. So this constant rocking. If you've ever, I remember when my mom was dying of breast cancer, God rest her soul, 10 years ago, she told me when she couldn't sleep at night, she would play Rockabye Baby on the radio and rock herself to sleep. By the way, some people who have trouble sleeping, they have insomnia, they'll often rock themselves to sleep. So this is that comforting gesture. It is believed dopamine begins to drop into the body at this point. Dopamine is that relaxing chemical messenger. It affects our mood, our motivation, our sleep. It's that reward part. So he's comforting himself. This high stress is really coming at him here.
Matt, and this is something we've seen throughout the trial, both live inside the courtroom from Alex Murdaugh and also during various points of interviews that he has done.
Well, just remind me if I ever get accused of murder that I hope that Janine is not on the jury, because I'm a rocker. My buddies always talk about how I rock all the time. She'd have me in the electric chair in about 38 seconds. So that just remind me of that. She is excluded. She gets the strike. She's not on the jury. So yeah, he rocks. But I don't know. I am constantly told my friends that I often do that too. So. What does it mean? I just don't want her in the jury if I'm ever accused.
Janine, what does it mean? We've got Matt rocking all the time, too.
Hey, just don't kill someone, Matt, and then you don't have to worry about who's on the jury. Let's start there.
I'm falsely accused.
Hey, listen, is there such a thing? Hey, listen, this is soothing and pacifying, and I love that you brought this up, Matt, because even though we see it, even though it is connected with the sense of balance in the inner ear, even though it is dumping dopamine in those high moments of relaxation because stress is happening, we do not know what the catalyst is. And I think that this is a really good point. We don't know what the catalyst is. I just got from the last segment, I got a message here from a police officer, a friend of mine named Gary Moore here in Alexandria, Virginia. He said, wait a minute, it sounds to me you think he's guilty. What's your evidence, Janine? He investigates murders. And I said, listen, in my expert opinion, based on a whole bunch of behavior and word choices, he becomes a major suspect for me, and I won't be surprised if the jury in the end finds him guilty.
We shall see.
Listen, I trained the FBI, the CIA. I've been doing this for 30 years. We don't know the catalyst, though, but for sure, this is a comforting gesture that we're seeing him do.
All right, great to have you both with us. Matt Harris, check out the podcast, Murdaugh Family Murders, Impact of Influence. So in-depth, so enlightening. And Janine Driver, thank you again. Great to have you, giving us a little bit of insight into what his body's saying when his lips are moving or even when he's just sitting there.